So could you just very briefly outline the main features of the debate around the devolution of policing?
Well, I think there's two elements to it, really. I mean, first and foremost is the practical element. So from the policing side of things, what is the devolution of policing going to do to policing? So for police officers, chief constables, of course, you've got the commissioners in there. Now, what is it actually going to do to the day-to-day practical activities of police across Wales? Now, of course, there's questions around the border. What does that mean for cross-border policing? Issues which are actually reserved by the UK government as well. So those kind of practical implications at the level of policing. Secondly, you have to take into account the capacity of the National Assembly to deal with that. So there was a report produced recently about the size of the National Assembly and that it actually needs to expand. Now, if you devolve policing, there are lots of things around accountability, around scrutiny that would also raise questions around what the National Assembly, is it capable of taking those powers at the moment? So I think the debate is twofold. First and foremost, those practical implications, and then secondly, the kind of constitutional questions, what that means for Assembly members and the size of the Assembly as well.
In terms of the politics of it, the Home Office has traditionally been cautious on devolution, and we now have the police and crime commissioners into the situation. How does that change just the politics of the devolution of policing?
Well, I think on the one hand, and I think that one of the PCCs for Dyfed Powys has actually said, Christopher Salmon, I think, has said that Wales already has a devolved police because of the commissioners. And yet, on the other hand, it's a way of moving power away from the centre towards the locale, which some would argue, well, the devolution of policing powers to the National Assembly for Wales would be an extension of that and actually more of an official joined-up approach to when you consider the National Assembly for Wales and the Welsh Government are responsible for local authorities, health, education, housing, etc. That would be a far more holistic, coherent approach to what we currently have. So in terms of the politics, there are bound to be two different positions on this. And I think fairly robust arguments could be made on either case, although it's questionable when you consider that Northern Ireland has its own police service, Scotland now, of course, has its own single police Scotland force, and I think that Wales to have its own police force would be a very difficult argument to build a case against that.